That's right, Esteban Ocon has been dropped by the Alpine team with one race to go in the 2024 season. We all know that the Frenchman was moving away from the Alpine team at the end of the year and heading to Haas for 2025, but it seems that contractual situation between the two teams has now led to Esteban Ocon also missing out on the final Grand Prix of the 2024 season, so that he is allowed to take part in a postseason tyre test with Haas. And there are quite a few drivers moving in 2024 across to new teams in 2025, and it's always a little bit strange, especially when a lot of those drivers, their contracts don't technically end with their current teams until January. And Esteban Ocon is in that situation where his contract with Alpine technically doesn't become a Haas contract until the new year. And the postseason tyre test is always in a little bit of a weird middle ground. You have to gain permission from the team that you are currently in to move over to your new team and take part in that postseason tyre test. Some drivers are allowed and some drivers aren't. For instance, Lewis Hamilton won't be released from Mercedes to take part in a Ferrari tyre test because of commercial considerations by the Mercedes team. And Esteban Ocon, although he did initially receive the green light to drive for Haas in Formula One's postseason tyre test, it seems like now the contractual situations have gotten a little bit more complicated. Toto Wolff, who's Esteban Ocon's manager, said, "First of all, there's a contractual relationship that Esteban and we have with Alpine on driver services, and that contract expires at the end of the year. Then if you agree that for the benefit of the future, there's a better solution that allows Esteban to get ready better for Haas, and if that depends on driving or not in Abu Dhabi, this is something we discussed today and we're going to talk about it tomorrow." And of course, it's no secret that Esteban Ocon hasn't been having the best time during his final season with the Alpine team. Outside of a shock result in Brazil where they managed to pick up a double podium finish, it hasn't been the best of years for the team, although they have started to put together some performances in the last few race weekends. That's mainly been thanks to Pierre Gasly, and he's been comfortably beaten by Pierre Gasly as Esteban Ocon, and is really unhappy with the performances that he's been able to deliver behind the wheel of that Alpine car, even sometimes hinting that the performance discrepancy between him and his teammate isn't just down to their driving. And of course, the team have completely denied that, but you can understand if the Alpine team are slightly biasing themselves towards Gasly's side of the garage, considering he is the driver that is staying with the team for the foreseeable future, where Esteban Ocon is moving at the end of the season. But then also, considering where they are in the Constructors' Championship, you wouldn't imagine that Alpine want to be throwing away any points if they were on the table for Esteban Ocon to be able to pick them up. However, his statement after the Qatar Grand Prix was quite finite, saying, "I would like to thank the team for their hard work over this race and their hard work over the whole year." That's something that you wouldn't really expect a Formula One driver to say after their penultimate race with a Formula One team, but definitely something you could expect them to say after their final race with a Formula One team. And it is a shame that it's ending like this for Esteban Ocon. Obviously, he's been an Alpine driver and a Renault driver before that for such a long time now, and he has a connection and has won races with that team. So you'd have hoped it had gone a little bit better, but even if you're a six-time world champion for a Formula One team, it doesn't mean that it's going to end perfectly. And if this early switch does mean that Esteban Ocon is guaranteed to be able to take part in that postseason tyre test for Haas, because Alpine do still have him under contract, and at the end of the day, Alpine can pull the plug on that connection with Haas whenever they want for that postseason tyre test. So I feel like if he has to do this to get that tyre test guaranteed with the team, is something that he just has to do. And it does mean that we're likely to see the team's reserve driver, Jack Doohan, take to the Abu Dhabi track next week. Of course, Jack Doohan does have a contract with Alpine for 2025, and that should see him go in alongside Pierre Gasly as the second driver in that Alpine team, replacing Esteban Ocon for next season. So it will be beneficial for the team and him to get one full race under their belts before going into a full season of racing next year. That does also mean there is a lot of pressure on Jack Doohan. Firstly, because Alpine needs all the points it can get, and they're giving up the experience of Esteban Ocon, somebody who has scored points and podiums for that team fairly consistently during his time, and then they're putting in a rookie. Could all go wrong, especially because 6th place in the Constructors' Championship is still up for grabs, despite Pierre Gasly putting in a stunning performance in Qatar and picking up another 10 points for the French team. Haas are right on their tails and RB aren't out of the running either. But also because some high-ranking members of the Alpine team have been seen having talks with Williams' Franco Colapinto about his future. Since he's come into Formula One, he has been very quick. And of course, we know he does bring in a big fan base and some big sponsors. So suddenly, Jack Doohan could be replaced before he's even started his full Alpine career. If Franco Colapinto swoops in and takes that seat away from him, at least Jack Doohan might get one race in an Alpine car to prove that he is worthy of that space inside of the Alpine team for the foreseeable future. But that's kind of a video in and of itself, because Alpine have quite a strange record when it comes to drivers. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think about this Esteban Ocon situation? If you were Esteban Ocon, would you give up your final Grand Prix with Alpine to get that postseason test with Haas? I'd love to know your thoughts. And whilst you're there, hit the like button, the subscribe button as well, and I'll see you very soon.